Hey guys, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here, and today I'm asking the question, what happens when a world leader tweets fake news? Now, this is what's going on, and to preface this whole thing, I am not getting political here. We've got to talk about some political things, but quite frankly, this is a topic I think that we need to discuss, and I don't care where you are on the political spectrum. I just want to talk about the news here because this is what went down. So, apparently for the very first time, Twitter had to flag a post that was retweeted by President Donald Trump as quote-unquote manipulated media. Now, the original tweet came from Dan Scavino, who is the White House social media director, who posted an edited video of former Vice President Joe Biden, who happens to be the main contender, apparently, or the possible nominee for the Democratic nomination to run against President Trump in the 2020 election. And this video had Joe Biden saying, and I quote, "We can only re-elect Donald Trump." Now, you can go watch this video online and see it for yourself. But here's the thing. The actual unedited quote, which came from Biden's speech in Kansas City, Missouri this past Saturday was, and I quote, "We can only re-elect Donald Trump if we, in fact, get engaged in this circular firing squad here." And so if you go and look at the video, it clearly looks like he had completed the sentence by saying we can only re-elect Donald Trump when there was a lot more to be said. It was actually pretty well done, in terms of that editing. And this is what President Trump tweeted out. Now, here's where it gets interesting. This past Friday, as in a few days ago, Twitter updated its manipulated media policy. I did literally a video on Twitter, I want to say about 5 days ago, regarding this, as well as their updated abuse content, hateful content, updates to their policies and all of that. And so Twitter also updated their manipulated media policy. And to quote Twitter's policy, "You may not deceptively share synthetic or manipulated media that are likely to cause harm. In addition, we may label tweets containing synthetic and manipulated media to help people understand their authenticity and to provide additional context." And as I said, I did a video on this talking about how they are going to put a banner there that says this may be manipulated and kind of explain things and all of that. And users were actually seeing that on this video in their timeline on Twitter, but if they searched on it or went directly to the tweet, they were not. Twitter has acknowledged this and is looking to fix that glitch so that it shows up everywhere. And so I think that's very interesting. And here are my thoughts on this. Now, I have actually written extensively on how we are getting into the deepfake era of political elections. We can expect to see doctored audio and video just basically be put out and go viral that can reach potentially millions of US voters. My last article, literally for Smerconish of CNN and SiriusXM, was called "Technology and the Death of a Republic," and it deep dives into this phenomenon. And so I encourage everybody, obviously, to go read that, for very exact thoughts on this. But that is a very serious problem that we are coming up to. And I think the core problem here overall, and this actually excludes this specific situation with the president, is that catching these videos is retroactive. Although the president's video that he had retweeted out was seen over 5 million times. That is the reach that President Trump has. And so Twitter has basically come out and said that they are depending on their community, meaning anybody that has a Twitter account, you, me, and anybody else, to basically identify and flag these things. This means that by the time Twitter has actually found this, seen the flag, and killed it, the offending audio, video, or image could have been potentially seen by millions. And basically, a lot of these people may have had their confirmation bias reaffirmed with demonstrably false evidence. Now, again, we are not getting political here. So I'll just say that the current president has obviously both people that love him, people that hate him. I'm sure there are some in between as well, and they either love or they hate him and his administration. And wherever you fall on the political spectrum, I think it's important that our elected officials, especially when they're broadcasting messages to the world and reaching platforms of tens of millions, in this case, Twitter, that they are as accurate and as honest as possible. This Joe Biden video clearly was not. It was clearly manipulated. Now, that said, I cannot assign a motive to the president here. I mean, perhaps it was an innocent mistake and his social media director is to blame, since President Trump just retweeted what his social media director put out, or maybe his social media director didn't know either and got it from another source and thought, oh, well, this just, really bolsters the case for, for my boss and all of that. Maybe the motive is something different. I cannot speak to that, nor will I. I'm not in their heads. But the only thing I can do is hope that we all have the same mindset, no matter what the political spectrum that you're on, is to have our leaders be as accurate and honest as possible. And if something like this comes up, acknowledge that something was incorrect or inaccurate. I think that's a fair thing to do, although I have no doubt it's wishful thinking, all around. I don't care for what politician, very few come out and actually admit their mistakes. So I'm not taking the president to task for that either way, politicians in glass houses and all of that. Now, again, I'm not looking for a political fight here, but I think this is an important discussion, on the topic of what do we do when a world leader, any world leader, in this case, President Trump, but it could be a prime minister, a dictator for life, whoever that is, starts creating situations like this where they are putting out demonstrably false information to a massive swath of the population, presumably his followers or her followers. And, what should Twitter do? What should another social media platform do? What should the general public do? Now, there has been some talk of, and Twitter was at the forefront of this, of, can the president ban, in this case, President Trump, could he or any former president ban a user, from being connected to him, as President Trump was doing and fond of doing prior to being elected president of the United States? And Twitter came down and said, no, that we can't actually do that. We cannot ban people because this is a public official, and this public official has been given a platform for everybody to see. And so I think that's very interesting. But when we have something this demonstrably false, is Twitter in the right to basically label it as manipulated media when it clearly and obviously is? And you can literally see the two videos side by side, to see where the original source came from. And as we walk into the deepfake era of elections, we have to be on guard for these kinds of things. I mean, if you are a President Trump supporter and you see a video of Joe Biden saying, well, the only thing we can do is reelect President Trump, I would hope that your flags would go up and say, well, wait a second, why on earth would Joe Biden say that? He is literally trying to take the guy's job, and vice versa. If it happened to Joe Biden, in the same way, if he tweeted that out against President Trump. So I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on this and what we as the general public should do and how we should police this. Should Twitter and social media like Facebook, etc., be stepping up to be less retroactive and more proactive? Or is this a valid solution to simply label it and make sure that, correct information gets out there if something intentionally or unintentionally gets out like this? So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, but that is your news of the day. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe and stay online. Thanks, guys.